Okay, hi, and welcome to a lunchtime event with Dublin Coding School. Thank you for joining us. And also, if you're watching the recording, thank you for joining us too. We're delighted to have one of our key partners join us for this session, where we're going to be learning a bit more about them, but also a bit more about data analytics and the role of data analytics and what it entails. And what's going to be great is we're going to hear about this great company, but also hear about how they use data and how their data analytics professionals in their company work. And we'll learn a bit more as well about what they're doing. Before we do, just to say thanks again for joining us. It's a Dublin Coding School joint event with LiveScore. We're the tech education provider based out of Dunleary. We offer courses in data analytics, obviously, full stack web development, automation testing, and UX UI design, and now cybersecurity, which is one of our newer ones. But we'll have more information about us a bit later on at the end. But I'd just like to start by saying welcome to the broadcast, Gemma and James from LiveScore. It's great to have you here.
Thanks very much, Luke.
Hi, Luke.
Now, so I'd like just to start maybe with yourself, Gemma. Would you like to maybe just introduce yourself to everyone and you know what your role is in LiveScore and how you fit into the group?
Sure, of course, thank you. So my role at LiveScore is I'm a people partner. My role is really to work with the management team to ensure the business is successful through our people, through our teams, bringing in the right talent, making sure they grow in the right ways, and we provide a really great culture and experience that people want to stick around with us and continue to grow their careers.
Great, thank you very much. And James, what do you do at LiveScore?
So yeah, I'm the Chief Data Officer of LiveScore Group. Started about 2.5 years ago and started building and formalizing the data function within LiveScore. And that involves basically looking after all of the customer data, sports data, operational data, etc., everything that flows into the company. And being able to make that data available to the company in various ways, whether it's analytics or operational data, financial data, regulatory data. There's a lot of different aspects to it. So it's a central function within the company and looks after all of our products at the same time. And
I know you're a newish company. I mean, I've certainly used your app quite a lot to keep up on the football scores. But and we're going to be learning a bit more about what you do. I know you've got a presentation prepared, but just briefly now, what kind of presence do you have in Ireland? I don't know who'd like to answer that.
I can go, yeah. So we started in Ireland about 2.5 years ago when I joined, and from there we started building the data engineering and data analytics function. And currently the data team is kind of more or less 50-50 split between Galway and London. In Galway, we're based in the Portishead, which is a really cool not-for-profit co-working facility in Galway city centre. Really cool place to work, really flexible and nice facilities there. And we have, yeah, about kind of 15 or 20 people in each location in Galway and in London. And really the primary focus of the data team is, and the team in Ireland is data analytics, data engineering, software engineering, all of those types of skills.
Great. And I know we're going to talk more, Gemma, with you about how LiveScore operates and the opportunities there maybe towards the end of the event. But now maybe, I know you've maybe prepared a presentation. So instead of anticipating what might be in it with questions, it might be good to, maybe we'll get on with the presentation and maybe I can ask you more questions at the end. And just before you do, by the way, if anyone's watching this now, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat below and we will get to any questions at the end. And also, if you're watching the recording, you can email us at info@dublincoding.ie, your question, and we'll get it back to it. And if it's for any of our speakers as well, I'll make sure that those questions get to them and we'll answer them. So we will get to all questions, whether it's now or live. So without further ado, I'll hand over to you now to lead the presentation.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, Luke.
I am trying to share my screen, Luke, but it's saying it's disabled.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That's my bad. Now I
Okay.
will just allow. There you go. So you should now be able to.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Cool. So in a moment, we'll talk to you a little bit more about who we are as LiveScore. Hopefully some of you have heard from us. Equally, we want to make this chat. Keep posting your questions in the chat, add some reactions. Really want it to be a nice interactive session here. So before we kick in, if you are watching live and you've heard of LiveScore or you might already have our app, give us a reaction, let us know if you know who we are. I mean, if you don't, I really hope that you will know who we are by the end of this presentation, but just interesting to see if the name rings a bell yet. Cool. Perfect. So if you have, or if you haven't, this is a little reminder. Generally, we find when we say the name, some people are a bit like, oh, I'm not sure. And then they go to download our app and they realize they already have it, and they do use us sometimes. So the LiveScore brand split into 3 main products, and I'll just give you a little bit of a high level overview of what them products are. The first part and the original part of LiveScore is a LiveScore media app. You can see I've just taken a snippet from the web page here, although most of our customers tend to use us through online apps. Our customers go along, we have masses and masses of sports data, what matches are going on, what scores, what's happening. And on this part of our business, we have at the moment around 33 million active users. So huge customer database, really interesting because it's live, updated, huge amounts of content. And you can see from this part, we generate some of our revenue as a business through advertising there. You can see some in screenshots. The next arm of our business is kind of split into 2. And off the back of that media presence with lots and lots of customers there, we have 2 sportsbook betting brands. The first one is called LiveScore Bet, and you can see a snippet of it here on the web page. Again, it's available online on web, but most of our customers tend to use us on app or mobile. And LiveScore Bet is really, it's a mirror of the LiveScore media brand, and it's leveraging that power of that 33 million live customers to see if anyone wants to. We know they're watching sport, they're enjoying sport. Can we leverage them across? If they're betting elsewhere with other providers, can we entice them in to bet through our services? So it's literally, the brand is very similar, and it's leveraging our current customers. The next betting brand we have is a brand called Virgin Bet. So it's part of the Virgin family, but it's white labeled by us here at LiveScore. So you can see slightly different brand and flavor, but actually similar content to LiveScore. We've got all the sports, we've got what's going on, and our customers go online and they place bets with us either through LiveScore Bet and Virgin Bet. And what's really interesting about our business model as well is we are a brand that is all about sports and fans. And really, you can imagine that fun and that excitement that goes with sports. The idea of that for us is the money that we generate through the betting brand, we use to bring back media. And we use that by generating sports games that our customers might have paid for elsewhere. We display free to play on our media app. And that's kind of our business model there. 2 parts, a media arm with millions of live users, and then 2 betting brands, and they partner together, all 3 of them, to form our business, which is LiveScore Group. And then as a group of businesses, we are, and you can see here, we're a globally connected business. Although today our real focus is going to be talking to you about our presence in Ireland, which is our data hub of talent. As a business and as a group, we're global. At the time of writing these slides, we're in 9 locations, but since then we've gone ahead and added Malta. So really fast growing. From a tech presence, Galway is our main data hub. In London, we also have some developers, some testers. Similarly, out in Prague is a hub for software development and testers, and Vienna and Venice in Cape Town. So real global. What's really nice about this company is although everyone's in their own locations with their own specialist skills, it's a real high trust, high autonomy environment where we're all connecting globally all day, every day, really, all working together in partnership. And in total, in terms of employees, we've currently got just over 500 employees in the group, really fast growing, heavily recruiting, heavily moving people through roles as we grow as a company, but really an environment where you'd come in, you'd learn, got some really exciting technical challenges, some tough technical challenges as well, which James will talk to you a bit more in a moment. But that's kind of a little bit of a flavour of who we are as a company. Obviously happy to take any other questions if you've posted any in the chat there. Otherwise, I'll hand over to James, who'll talk to you a little bit more about data.
Thanks, Gemma. So yeah, following on from there, the data team, which is new enough in the company as well, about 2.5 years old in total, and split between Galway and London. So a total of 33 team members across the 2 locations. The roles are spread across different types of disciplines, so software engineering, data science, data visualization, and also split between different teams. So we have split the overall data team of 33 members into different teams that focus on different areas of the business as well. Within Galway, the teams are based in Galway City Centre in the Portershed, which is a co-working facility in the city centre and a great place to work and a great vibe and good collaboration and good spirit in the place. So yeah, about 2.5 years in operation in its current format, and that 33 members we're planning to grow to certainly 50 and possibly beyond. We'll see how things go. In terms of tech, we're fortunate. We have a really modern tech stack. We're lucky that we don't have any old legacy systems and mainframes and stuff like that we have to deal with. All of our tech is really modern. It's based, almost all of it is Google Cloud Platform. People are probably familiar with other cloud platforms like AWS and Azure. Google Cloud is probably the newest of them, the most modern, the most kind of developer focused, I would say. Really nice to use. And therefore, like 95% of our data infrastructure is serverless, distributed. So really kind of modern approach to how to deal with data challenges. Modern deployment and development processes, CI/CD, GitHub, these are all things you've probably heard about and seen before. Cloud-based orchestration and monitoring. So whenever any of our systems have issues or discover errors, we have cloud-based systems that monitor those all the time and alert the team. Again, really nice infrastructure to work with. And I guess the focus of all of this is real-time data availability. And I'll get into that a little bit more as we go, like what I mean by that. But ultimately, like with so much data flowing into the business, the job of a data team is to collect and gather that data and harness that data, but make it usable for the rest of the business and for various teams around the business. But because it's such a volume of data and because it's so complicated, the nature of the data, it can be a challenge to make that data available as quickly as possible to the business in a usable form. And I'll kind of give some examples as I go of what I mean by that. So I kind of see the data world as split between two paradigms, I suppose. One is historical data and one is real-time data. And I'll give an example or a couple of examples of what we do with historical data and what we do with real-time data. So in the middle here, you see our products, LiveScore Media, LiveScore Bet, and Virgin Bet, as Gemma spoke about. So one of the first bits of historical data that we deal quite a lot with is transactions, right? Transactional data, financial data. Questions like how much revenue does the company make? It's not an entirely straightforward question to answer. You have ad revenue, which come from displaying advertising. We have betting revenue, but within betting revenue, there are bets that win, that lose, that cancel, that get resettled. Like it's quite complicated. It's a trading business ultimately. And calculating how much revenue the business is making based on that is actually quite complicated and takes a lot of data science and data engineering. So that's kind of the first challenge of our transactional data. So taking all of the historical transactions that have completed in the last day, week, month, and aggregating those in a way that we're able to tell revenue, which users are spending the most, spending the least, which sports and tournaments are most profitable to us, all of these kinds of questions. So that's one aspect of transactional data. Unified data layer. So you see this term single source of truth spoken about a lot in the data world. And if you consider our company, right, on our 3 products, so we have, again, 3 products, 3 revenue streams. How much revenue do we make from each product separately? That's reasonably, we can answer that. But what about the average revenue per user across all 3 products? How do we know like that the same user is active on all 3 products? How do we tie that together? What kind of data manipulation do we need to do to be able to say, this user is the same user across different products? That's quite a complicated problem for us as well. So that's where having this single source of truth and this unified data layer helps us deliver kind of harmonized reporting across the business. So the business is able to look at a set of reports and determine quickly, okay, I can see what's happening with this product. I can see what's happening with all our products. And that's quite a challenging aspect and involves a lot of data engineering. Then onto some more predictive aspects. So we have a data science team as part of the data team, and we use machine learning to do lots of different things really, but one of them is prediction of player lifetime values. So when we have a new customer appear on one of our products, how quickly can we look at their behavior in terms of what they're doing, how often they're doing it, and how can we make a determination as to what we think the overall lifetime value of that player will be. So lots of things come into place, like how often are they going to use our products, how long will they stay as a customer, will they churn, will we be able to get them back, lots of different aspects. And ultimately being able to predict that value gives our operational teams a better sense of how should our CRM team interact with this customer if we think they're going to be a valuable customer versus not a valuable customer, and how can we tailor our systems basically to maximize the value of that customer. So a lot of different aspects in terms of historical data there that we use on a daily basis. In terms of real-time data, every customer that interacts with our product generates click data, right? So if you go onto the website or if you open the app, every time you open the app, every time you click on something, navigate, any interaction you have, we gather all of that data in real time, and that data is flowing through our systems all the time. And that's quite a challenge because of the volume of users we have to harness that data and be able to do useful things with that data. And I'll show you an example of that shortly. Other examples of real-time streams, sports data, right? So every match that kicks off, every goal, every corner kick, every outcome that happens inside a match, whether it's football or tennis or basketball, or whatever the sport is, we take in all of that data all the time. It's an intense amount of data as well. And that data feeds through our products in order to give people notifications that a goal has been scored or that a match is kicked off or match is finished, etc. So huge amount of data there, pretty challenging stuff. Monitoring, really important for the operation of our business. If something breaks, if something goes down, every time a user successfully logs in or maybe has a login failure, maybe they've forgotten their password, every time there's a score update, every live stream, all of this data we monitor all of the time as well. And we have a system of alerts so that if something is going wrong or something has failed, that our teams get alerted straight away and people are able to react to that. So yeah, huge amount of data infrastructure goes into that as well. And finally, trading data. So if we look at the betting products, you have odds for certain outcomes in matches. Those odds change over time depending on how people are interacting with them. Every bet can be won or lost. People can cash out, etc. There's a lot of transactional data there. And it's the job of trading teams to look at this data quite often in real time as well and make determinations about whether something should be higher odds or lower odds. And basically the trading team are tasked with making the company profitable as we go. And so in order to do that, they need a lot of data and they need to be able to see it quite quickly. So hopefully that's a couple of examples of historical data and real-time data and the different things we use both of them for. In terms of data challenges, so yeah, just to kind of frame this, like we have 3 products, as you know. They're active in over 200 countries and we've 33 million users. So like if you think back to what I was saying about every time somebody opens the app and clicks and navigates, we're gathering all of that for every single action for 33 million users every month, all the time. So a huge amount of data, like colossal. And how we harness that data, we have hundreds of databases, thousands of tables, and a total data set size of probably more than 500 terabytes. I'm saying probably because we actually don't know. It would actually take somebody probably a week of work to go and find out how much data we actually have. So insane amount of data and growing all the time. And typically or traditionally, I would say, in order to deal with that amount of data, both in terms of the computing power you need and the storage you need, normally we'd be talking about having thousands of servers. And in our case, we basically have none, right? We don't have any servers. Again, we use Google Cloud Platform for virtually all of this work. So that's a really cool advantage for us. We don't have to look after our own servers. We don't have to manage infrastructure and networking and all of that stuff that that people had to do in the past. We rely on Google Cloud Platform for all of that. So it's really handy and really cool. I've listed some of the products, some of the main products we use within Google Cloud Platform. Hopefully some of you will have seen some of these, or you can certainly go and look at them now. These are some of the really popular products within Google Cloud Platform and some of the really useful ones. BigQuery, the first one there is our kind of data analytics warehouse. It's kind of, we use that instead of using SQL servers and databases that we would have ourselves. So that's our main data warehouse. Really amazing tool. There's lots of free courses online as well if people want to take a look and kind of upskill on that. Data flow is a kind of a system for doing analytics on streaming data or batch data, depends on how you use it. Cloud functions, you can write little functions to do little tasks on data without having a server of your own. Again, really handy. I won't go through all of these, but these are the ones that we use predominantly. And in a lot of cases, you don't need to write a lot of code to use these tools. They're actually kind of not quite drag and drop, right? There is some configuration, but they're made quite easy to use, and we certainly take a lot of advantage. So in terms of the languages and tools that we use, these are the main ones. Most of our code is Python. We do have some Java, some JavaScript. Tableau is a data visualization tool for kind of business reporting and BI, business intelligence. Data Studio is another one, and SQL you're probably familiar with. And in terms of how these map to the different jobs that people do within the team, so software engineers tend to use Python, Java, JavaScript predominantly. Data engineers quite heavily focused on Python. Data analysts will do a bit of a mix, but also will use Tableau and Data Studio quite a lot to visualize data and kind of slice and dice it and understand what's going on with it. And data scientists also tend to work quite a lot in Python. But the one message I suppose I am trying to convey here is everybody uses SQL. And in a big way, right? It's kind of an amazing technology in some ways. It's extremely old. It must be, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 years old since it was invented, but still so topical and so important and so critical today. So it's quite impressive in that sense. We do use other NoSQL technologies and databases in LiveScore as well, and they're more modern, fresher, very good for certain use cases, but hard to beat SQL in terms of just pure data analytics power. So everyone on the team ends up using SQL in quite a big way. I also wanted to just point out something that is kind of, it certainly shocked me at various stages in my career, but you know, when you're starting out with SQL, you look at an example like this where you're, you know, picking books from a library, and SQL looks quite straightforward and quite simple, and you think, okay, cool. But as an example, I asked only the other day, I asked one of our data engineers to show me the SQL query that figures out what source a download comes from. So we have one of our products, LiveScore Bet. It's an app and people download it from the App Store, but they can download it from different sources in the sense that they might have seen an ad and clicked on the ad and then gone to the App Store and downloaded it. They might have seen an ad in different places, and we're trying to figure out like what source did they see the ad from, or did they click through an ad, or did they just go to the App Store themselves and download the Bet app? So we have a SQL query that looks through the data, the download data, and pulls out which source the user came from before they downloaded the app. And that query is 735 lines long of SQL, 42 joins, right? I don't know if people have done much with SQL, but joins are one of those things that you work on. 33 casts, 11 group by statements, 6 regexes in there. So pretty intimidating, to be honest, but also pretty amazing. And I have to give credit to the data engineers that we have on the team. It's really amazing work, and we're very lucky to have some very talented engineers on the team. And that's kind of part of the reason I'm giving this message as well. It's one of the good things about people joining the data team who have come from backgrounds maybe who don't have extensive SQL experience. To be honest, very few people who join the data team have sufficient SQL experience, but we have a kind of a system in place now where we give training internally among the team from the more senior SQL engineers to everyone else coming in, and it's a nice way to learn. And yeah, everybody that joins the data team tends to learn quite a lot of SQL and become quite proficient at it. Okay, so I'm going to give or show an example of a data pipeline. So we build data pipelines in the data team all the time for lots of different purposes. This one's a quick one that I put together for Dublin Coding School, just to kind of give a sense of data flowing through systems. So the example I'm going to show you is we're going to take all of the click data from all of our users of one of our products. Not all, to be honest, it's a sample, but it's still quite a lot of users. So hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of users, right, for their click data. We're going to pipe it through a customer data platform, which is kind of just a platform that helps us aggregate data. And then we're going to pipe that into Cloud PubSub, which is one of these Google Cloud Platform products. PubSub here stands for Publish Subscribe, and means that it's kind of a queue, right? So there are publishers who push data into the queue, and then there are subscribers who pull a copy of the data out of the queue. And in this case, this pipeline, for example, would take all of the click data from mobile app users, push it into PubSub, which will then push it out to BigQuery. So we'll store that data in the data warehouse. But I'm also going to push it out to a little Node.js script that I wrote to demonstrate this. And I'll show you this on my machine. So I'm going to come out of presentation mode, and I'm going to show this. Okay, so this is the script. It's like 40 lines of code, fairly straightforward. It's written in Node.js, so it's JavaScript. But just to kind of demonstrate, it's not a very complicated script. It's fairly straightforward. But this script, you're going to see what happens when I run the script now in a second. And this is going to pull that data from PubSub and show all of the click data from all of the users. So I'm going to run it, and I'm going to turn on the data pipeline. And in a second, you'll see the data start flowing through. Okay, so I've turned on the data pipeline now. It should start flowing. Okay, cool. So here, you're seeing the time zone and the event, the click that someone's after doing. And this is flowing in real time. This is literally coming from users who are clicking through the apps right now, pretty much all over the world. And you can see, I've taken a lot of the kind of, I've simplified the data just for these purposes, but yeah, you can see London, Amsterdam, Lagos, Dublin's in there somewhere as well. I'll slow it down in a second. And you can see screen views, application opens, backgrounds, tap events. So all of this data is flowing literally in real time through that data pipeline that I just showed you a second ago. And very little code involved in constructing this data pipeline. The only code is really this code here on the right to just show the messages. So that's kind of a nice demonstration of exactly the power that you have using Google Cloud Platform and data pipelines. Hundreds and thousands of events flowing through this pipeline into my machine, displaying here. Trying to build a system from scratch that would do this would take months, whereas using cloud platforms, it makes it very straightforward. So that's the data pipeline. That's the kind of real-time data demo. And next demo is a data visualization demo, which is, I spoke about real-time data and historical data as kind of two big focuses. So this demo hopefully give you a sense of kind of real-time data and how quickly it's moving and how much data is involved. In terms of historical data, I will show you now just some examples of things that data analysts and data engineers would all work on within the data team, things that they would be looking at on a day-to-day basis. So here I've I put this together just for this demo as well, or this call. Very straightforward, no code involved actually, just again, using the tools that we have. So here you can see 26th of January, we're looking at data from the 26th of January, all aggregated and kind of sliced and diced in different ways. So app sessions, so people using our product, opening the app, which countries are they coming from and how many from each, or what proportion. So you can see here, Great Britain, Netherlands, Nigeria, Ireland, and India. And you can see the kind of the breakdown of users in each of those territories. App sessions, you can see that there were about 170,000 app sessions on the 26th of January. 26th of January is today, right? Yeah, so far today, 170,000 app sessions. Down here under favorite events, so within our product, you can pick an event and you can star it and favorite it to say, you know, I want to follow this event basically. So if we look at the favorite events, we can see that most people are favoriting events when the event is not yet started. So they're kind of coming in ahead of the event and they're favoriting that event. Quite a lot of people are then favoriting events even after they're finished, which is kind of interesting, maybe something we didn't expect. And then some people are also favoriting events while the event is live, so it's already happening. Live streaming, so especially relevant for users or people in Ireland, LiveScore streams every Champions League match and is going to do that for the next couple of years. Free to use, so you can stream this and cast it to your TV. It's pretty cool. But here's a kind of a representation of what actions people take when they're streaming. So opening the streaming player obviously is the main action. After that, play and pause. But after that, pulse, change media, resume, open full screen, lots of different actions. And this helps our product teams look at the data and kind of say, oh, okay, you know, not many people are using this feature, or people are using this feature at certain times. And that helps us design better products basically and adapt our strategy. But just to show you another example here, I'm going to change the timeline and I'm going to say, let's look at the last 7 days. And this will update and give us a slightly different view. So again, similar picture in terms of the country usage. Sessions here, we can see that there's a big peak here. And down here, we can see previously we were looking at this graph and it was mostly not started and finished, and the live aspect was pretty small, but that's because we were only looking at today and there were probably very few live matches streaming today. If we look at it over a larger period of time, we now see a better picture, and we know that, okay, still a lot of people, most people are favoriting events before they start, but a huge amount of people do actually favorite events while they're already on, and then fewer people after they're finished. So this again gives our product teams insights and helps them design better features basically. And one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push this out 14 days. So again, this is all historical data collected in BigQuery, which is their data warehouse, and being processed and into this visualization. So now we can see that there's two major peaks on this graph, and the peaks are 15th and around the 22nd. And if you look at those peaks, you probably won't be too surprised to realize that they're both weekends. And that is a common pattern that we see with our products. We get huge usage at the weekends, predominantly because most of the sporting events are focused around the weekends. So in this case, not a very earth-shattering insight, something we probably knew already, but good to see that the data represents this and that there are ways to, I guess, query the data to figure out, you know, patterns of usage and understand why people do certain things when they're interacting with our products, and how we can design our products better to suit what people are looking to achieve with our products. So that's kind of it in terms of demos, and that's kind of the end of the slides as well. Happy to take any questions or discussions, or yeah, go back to a live discussion if that's
great. Well, look, thank you very much. That's really interesting. And if we just maybe stop the share there for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Back there. So really interesting. And one thing I was struck by there, I suppose, the real value of having a data analytics team was you mentioned a few insights that mightn't have been obvious at the start, whereas, you know, people favoriting past events, which weren't analyzing the data at all, you mightn't really think that was happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
which is quite interesting. And also seeing the different timescales of all of that. So by the way, just for anyone's watching, for the people that are, if you have any questions, now would be the time to type them in. I know some of them aren't. Actually recognize a couple of names who are watching who are, there's actually 1 or 2 people watching in that group. I think there's about 10 or 12 or so, but 2 of them, I know the names of people about to start our data analytics course. And you probably know who you are who are watching. I won't call your names out over the air. But if you have any questions as well, do let us know. And if you're watching the recording, if you've received our newsletter or you're watching the recording in any of our areas, or either on YouTube or we've put it out through LinkedIn, please email the questions into info@dublincoding.ie. But I was just going to ask maybe Gemma about, obviously LiveScore is a growing company, and I know that there are lots of opportunities there for someone who might join in a junior role. So it'd be great maybe to learn a bit about what it would like to join LiveScore and what kind of opportunities there are to progress there.
So as you mentioned, we're growing really, really rapidly as a company. In terms of current employees, we've got just over 500 now. We hit 500 this week, and each week we tend to have across the group between like 10 and 25 people join. So really, really fast growth. In terms of joining the company, it's very much an environment with lots of autonomy. As you've seen, James has talked you through, there's some really tricky and interesting technical challenges. So it's certainly an environment where you'd come in and you'd get really stuck in and involved in products. We're really lucky that we've got some awesome talent in the business, and they're also people that mentor and guide and coach other people when they come in. So if you was to join the business, you'd come in, we'd arrange some formal learning. If there's anything external that you think you might need, we're very much the kind of company where we want to help grow that talent. It's something that's key to us. So we'd help with anything professional and external, but equally, we really believe in the value of that on-the-job learning, getting involved in something really perhaps a little bit tricky and technical with the guidance and support of your colleagues and peers and more experienced team members to provide that safety net around you and learning for experience. In terms of career progression, you can imagine as a company that's growing really, really fast, that's something that is really important to us. People that come in, we want to keep them and nurture them and grow them. So we have people that have been with us for many years that come in and they grow and they progress and they take on more responsibility. The main, I guess, advice and tip I'd give people around that is all about that learning. It's about keeping your knowledge fresh, seeing what's out there, lots of content you can see, you can learn from. We'd certainly support you with that. So your own proactive learning alongside those challenges in the business.
Great. And do you have how would you describe the culture at LiveScore? I know that's sort of a topic that comes up a lot. And I know that people who are moving jobs or thinking about moving jobs or assessing these things, it's a question that does come out a lot, doesn't it? Even in interviews.
Definitely. So our culture, I think I would describe this in a few ways. The first part at the start is, I mean, we're a sports company. So sports is very much part of our culture. You've got that fun, you've got that team feel, you've got innovation. Sports is everywhere to us. It's really, really important to us. That being said, you don't need to be a massive sports fan to work here. We certainly have lots of sports fans, but equally it's the technical challenge that's exciting. But even if you're not, hopefully you pick up on that buzz and the excitement of sports. Outside of that, it's an environment that's a real learning environment. We have to be really reactive and pivot fastly to change. So real resilience in what's going on. Do we need to change? Do we need to move? Being able to move fast. It's an environment where there's really, really high trust. You can imagine we're working on some really, really big projects here. And as teams, we work together, we collaborate, and that real sense of achieving together and team spirit is really important. Ties quite into that idea of sports as well and teaminess.
Yeah.
What else would I say in terms of culture? I mean, the other thing is just it's fun. So outside of sports, it's a really, really fun environment. We've got some big challenges to tackle, and it's certainly an environment where people learn, but we have a lot of fun doing it. It's fun. We're starting to get back into the office now and being able to get together and connect. But genuinely, I don't think I've had a day at work here where I haven't laughed every day. It's a really fun environment.
That's great to hear. And James, do you have anything to add to that? I know with based down in the Galway office, is it the Portershed you mentioned? Yeah,
and like we've had a lot of new joiners in the data team in Galway in the last 6 to 12 months. Most of whom, have been hired and joined during lockdowns or various lockdowns, which is challenging. But I think the dominant sentiment is how helpful everyone on the team is. Everyone's very generous with their time. Nobody stays stuck on a problem for any amount of time. People just kind of ping each other and help each other. I'm really happy to see that kind of culture forming in the office, especially when, you know, it's been harder to be there and present and kind of see this all the time, but it is a culture that has formed very organically in the team, which is great. And the other thing I would say, kind of globally across the company, it's a very how would you say, flat hierarchy. Like there's nobody that can't or feels afraid to ask a question. Everyone's able to challenge everyone else. Everyone's able to have open discussion with everyone else. It's very it's a meritocracy, I suppose, is the word I'm looking for. It's quite equal that way. So yeah, really nice culture, I think.
So everybody's voice is heard. And yeah. So if someone was to join, say, as a junior data analyst or as a data analyst on your team, just generally now, you don't have to go into too much detail, but what would a day in their life look like? You know, they come in, they open the door to the porter shed, they walk in, and then what does a general day in the life of a data analyst look like there?
Yeah, like the first week is all about meeting the team, the rest of the team, obviously, getting your laptop set up and access to the various systems and all of that kind of stuff, some induction. So first week is just kind of getting to know people and getting access to the various systems. After that, a day in the life is working with your manager, who's probably your mentor as well, working with stakeholders, so different people across the business, working with a product owner who helps kind of prioritize the work, getting familiar with the agile methodology and working in Scrum teams, etc. But also just like the first kind of couple of months on the job is really about learning about sports data, learning about the data sets that we have and what means what represents what and why. So there's a lot of learning at the start, and that's expected. And I think generally people are given the time to learn and onboard before there's a lot expected from them. So yeah, it's getting familiar with tons of data sets, tons of data. We've had people join from other industries that are quite different. Still tech industries, but like if you join from a different industry where you're used to, like, let's say embedded software, for example, where you're used to dealing with kind of small amounts of memory and small amounts of data and trying to do very specific things, and then you join LiveScore data team where you have hundreds of gig of data flowing through a single pipeline in 10 minutes. It's very shocking and it's very kind of bewildering, and it always takes people a while to get their heads around that. But it's always a fun transition.
I can only imagine what it was like during the World Cup.
Yeah, and that's it. It's a seasonal business as well, and there are peaks and troughs, and yeah, it's sometimes a little bit an intimidating amount of data, but then you get your head around it and you get familiar with the tools and techniques for dealing with it. And yeah, I think everyone kind of enjoys the challenge, and it's one of the rare examples of Google Cloud Platform being used in production in a serious way. And it's a rare amount of data and complexity of data that people get an opportunity to work with. So yeah, it's interesting work and challenging for sure. Yeah,
but also a great opportunity. And it was great to hear you talk about SQL or SQL in that way, because I mean, that is the core part of our course. It's broken into 3 modules, with the first being SQL or SQL. The second part is Tableau, and then we finish with Python. And they're the 3 core subjects that we're actually teaching. And the just for the people at home, the lecturing team come from, we have the European data lead from TikTok, Daniel Reddy leading that course. We also have John George, who's senior data analyst at Bank of Ireland, and Vineal Combre, who's the senior data analyst at Nitro. So they're the ones leading that that course. And it's actually John's from Bank of Ireland who's leading the next course, who I know one of our viewers will be taking. So it was really great to hear, you know, that the technologies that you're currently focusing on, we're actually also focusing on as well in a really big way in those courses.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they're ultimately the core skills in data for sure.
Yeah, SQL being so important, and I know our lecturers highlight that as well. So it's great to see it going from classroom right through to the big stage in the professional environment.
Yep.
So I'll just come back to you, Gemma, just for a moment. And I know LiveScore are very much a company on the move. What kind of, without giving away any trade secrets or corporate secrets or anything like that, but what kind of plans are there for the Irish business, you know, in terms of hiring or outlook, just for people who might be watching thinking, you know what, I might try and get involved in working in IT, and I'm thinking about moving, and I just wants to know how these companies are evolving.
Sure. I mean, for us, it's all about growth. We're a really, really fast growth company, reflected in the people we hire on top of the projects and the things that goes on in the business. Particularly in Ireland, we're really rapidly looking to grow. We're looking for people that are passionate about data. Our Galway office is our data hub alongside London, and is only set to grow. The office has been around for 2 years and it's grown quite quickly from there, and just looking to expand as we can bring these people into the business. We're constantly recruiting, but equally alongside that, we take a talent-led approach. So if someone great comes along, although it might not be the exact role we've got available, we always look at it and see how could we bring that talent, how can we make it work. We think having the right talent in the business is really, really powerful to us. So we take quite a flexible approach there.
Okay, so you can be reactive to that as well. If somebody approaches you and just wants to have a chat, who maybe is, even if they're watching this, if they're more experienced and they're thinking, I wasn't aware LiveScore was here, maybe I should get in touch. So you're open to that as well.
Absolutely, please do.
Yeah, very good. Well, on that note, is there a preferred way that they should contact LiveScore, or would you like to put that out there if they were looking to get in touch, if they had any questions or anything like that? So I know sometimes with businesses such as yourselves, people can sometimes get lost in your product website without knowing how to contact the corporate office.
Sure. So what I'd probably recommend, and James, I hope you don't mind me saying this, so if anyone's watching today or they're watching the recording, if they'd like to get in touch, we can share our contact details. They can either contact myself, they can contact James. Outside of that, we've got like generic team mailing lists for like HR, for recruitment, for those other teams we can share with you. But if anyone's watching and has got any questions following up today, like I know I'd love to talk to them, and I'm sure James would agree with that too.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Great. Okay. Well, if they do you want to give an email address out now? Because someone might be watching this and.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if we type in the chat, is that visible to people as well?
Not really, no, because people will be watching a recording. So we're actually broadcasting this out now onto Facebook and LinkedIn, but people will get the recording, so they'll be able to just see the screen. So.
Cool. Okay, so I mean, happy for you to contact me if any questions. It's Gemma, GEMMA.Burke, which is BURKE, and the email is at anzo, which is ANZO group.com. You can contact me with any follow-up questions. Obviously, I'm not so technical, so I probably can't help with any data queries there. But anything you'd like to know about LiveScore, our culture, any future opportunities, fine to contact me on that.
That's great. And if you didn't catch that, you can always rewind it 10 seconds and play it again. And we can get us at info@dublincoding.ie. And if you want to even ask us a question for James or Gemma or LiveScore in general, we'll pass those on as well, because we're partners, and we'll pass those on to you and put you in touch. So no problem there. Now, just before we go, I don't know, do you have anything to add at all that you'd like to say, or we've gone through quite a bit there?
Yeah, nothing from my side. It's a great team. It's a great industry. It's a great challenge, and data is kind of one of those things that just keeps getting more and more important and more topical. Every company is trying to do more and better things with their data, so it's a really good time to be getting into data analytics. And yeah, happy to hear from people if they're interested, and we can certainly have chats with people and see what we can do. But other than that, thanks very much for the opportunity, Luke.
Yeah, great. And it was really great to have you on board. Do you have anything to say, Gemma, to anybody who might be watching just before we go?
No, I guess really just like thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. Really hope to hear from you, and good luck as you continue to pursue your careers in data, and the more you learn and get involved there, we'd love to keep in touch.
Brilliant. Well, we certainly will. And I think that was probably the most interesting company we've had on really talking. This is such an interesting use of data, and it's such a very interesting case study, I suppose. So if you are watching and you have any questions, as we said before, you can email them into info@dublincoding.ie. Just to say that we will have the next data analytics course going. It's, I believe, the middle of February, and it will be starting off, and it's covering SQL, Tableau, and Python, being led by John George, who's Senior Data Analyst at Bank of Ireland. I think he's taking SQL and Tableau, and then Vinil Thombre, who's the data lead at Nitro, taking the Python part. And if you can't make that one, in March, we have the European data lead from TikTok taking the next group, and leading that group. Now, classes are limited to 10 people to make it as interactive as possible. So if you are thinking about in touch, you need to get in touch pretty quick. And just to say, we do have our career center after the course where we help you with your CV, your online presence, and if they have open roles, we share your CV with partners such as LiveScore, where if you may end up chatting to them about a future career in data analytics. So and the website where you can see everything is dublincoding.ie. But other than that, we'd like to say thank you very much for watching. And also if you're watching the recording, which will be distributed out very shortly, thank you very much for watching too. And I'd like to say thank you to James and Gemma for joining me as well.
Thanks very much, Luke.
Okay, bye-bye and have a good day.
Okay.
See you.